Good morning, boys and girls. This video is for Monday, April 27th. Welcome back. I hope you had a good weekend. We're going to start off with reading today, and we're still reading Twister on Tuesday. I know some of you really got into your book and told me you were reading ahead. That's great. But we're on chapter 4 today. So last time, we wrote a couple of characters, last week I should say. We wrote Jack and Annie. We talked about the setting, and they're now at the one-room schoolhouse. So in chapter 4, we're going to meet some more characters. So you're going to open up your flap where it says characters and write some more of your characters that are coming to you in the one-room schoolhouse. Okay, for today's spelling lesson, we're on sort 30, and the words that we have are going to be using the O-I and O-Y. Now, the sound that it makes is oi. Oi. So you can't really sound that out using the regular vowel sound. So O-I or O-Y make this special sound, which is oi. Now, one way that can help you remember if you're supposed to do O-I or O-Y is O-I is usually in the middle of a word. If you notice, in the middle of the word. And O-Y is usually at the end of the word. Like boy, soy, toy, joy. Now, the only thing that would be a little bit confusing is if you have an ending on a word. Like, let's say you had joyful. Well, it would look like O-Y is in the middle of the word if you added F-U-L, but that's actually a suffix, an add-on, where you still have the root word as joy, but you're just adding full to it. Or, let's say you had a compound word, like you changed toy to toy box. Well, toy is still the root word, right? Box is a separate word. So a way to remember is O-Y is usually at the end and O-I is in the middle. So you're going to cut out these words today on page 117 and glue them onto page 119. Okay, for our handwriting today, we're going to be doing page 65 and we're going to be doing O. So I'm going to tilt my book and make sure it's nice and flat. You can either fold it back or leave it flat. I think today I'm going to leave it flat. Hopefully you have a desk or a table that's kind of large so you can have plenty of room. I'm going to write my capital O. Now when I do my capital O, there's a loop-de-loop. When I do my lowercase, in this style of writing, or this font, there is no loop-de-loop. So uppercase, I go around to my left and loop-de-loop. Okay, it's not connecting to any word. When I do my lowercase o, I just make an O and connect it. So uppercase has a loop-de-loop, lowercase o, and connect it. Now, I'm looking at these words here that we're doing. Let's go down to one. Now notice when you're connecting it in the middle of the word. This is kind of odd though because one changes the N. Okay, so you know that when you do an N, you normally make an N in cursive with 2 humps, right? Normally you make an M with 3 humps. But when you're connecting the N or M from an O or from a letter where you connect it in the middle, you leave off that first hump because what's happening here is the O is connecting, instead of going down, you're just going to connect straight away. So what's happening is you're skipping this little part of your N when you connect that O. So today in our math book, we're starting a new chapter because we finished our chapter on time. We're going to be doing customary and metric lengths. Okay, so it's basically measuring. So customary would be the way that we measure in the United States, which is using inches and feet and yards. Metric is using the metric system, and most of the world uses metric measuring, which is centimeters, meters, and kilometers. Okay, so the page we're doing today is actually, am I ready? It's a review page. So you're going to do this page, pretty simple review. Now when you get to page 638, you're going to use these words compare, longest, and shortest. So you're going to write 3 items from the classroom or from your room where you're doing your homework at school. and you write 3 items. Like I could write pen because I have a pen right here. I could write book. I could write ruler. I could write cabinet. I could write anything that I wanted, but 3 items. You're going to put the longest here and the shortest here. So longest means kind of like biggest when you're talking about like how tall something is, or the biggest, the long way. Shortest, like a person, I'm kind of one of the shortest people in my family, so I'm like the smallest in height wise. Okay, then you're gonna say how you compared the items, because now if we were using this pen, let's say we were using this pen and we were comparing it to a book. Now, when I'm talking about longest and shortest, I would probably choose to measure this going across the book and how tall the pen is the long way. But if I decided I was going to measure, okay, I'm going to measure how high the book goes and how high the pen goes, I could do it that way too. So that's why you need to write, how did you compare the items? Were you comparing like the length of the book, how tall it was when you stood it up, or how skinny it was? Depending on what items you're using, you'll compare it differently. Okay? Now, the vocabulary cards are just to help us know what things mean. In our Zoom meeting today, if you come to Zoom or you've already been to Zoom, we're going to go over these. If you're not able to make it to Zoom, you can cut these out and read them because it's going to help you in your unit. Also, we're going to do this foldable in Zoom, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Now, in your packet, you're going to see a fake. Okay, so I included a paper ruler that you can use if you don't have a real one. If you have a real ruler, go ahead and use that. But if not, you can cut out the paper ruler and use that. Another thing, we're going to be measuring in inches tomorrow and the next day. This week, we're using inches. Okay, you might have a tape measure like this. This is also the same thing. Okay, 1 foot is 1 ruler. So you can see that using a tape measure would be the same thing. All right, another item that you're going to need is a yardstick. And most people don't have a yardstick at home. This is what a yardstick looks like. I don't know if you can see this. It's 3 feet. Okay, so I've given you this, and I'll show you later on in the week how to put this together when you need it. We don't need either of these for today, but we will need them this week. You're gonna have to cut and glue this together to make a yardstick. Next week, we're gonna need it would really help if you had a tape measure. So see if your parents have a tape measure, maybe in your garage, and it might not look exactly like this. It might be bigger than this. The one I have at home is bigger. This is a great tool that we're going to be using next time. But just make sure that you don't like let go of it, and you can kind of hurt yourself if you're not being careful with it. So you have to kind of hold on to it when you're using it. There's a little button on mine where I can freeze it like that, but you don't want to take it and like let it go like that because it can snap your fingers. So you might want to get those items ready. Okay, so we're going to do our Scholastic activity. We'll probably be doing Scholastic about once a week now, because I do have some other items we need to study, and we're almost to the end of everything that they've put on the website as well. So you're still in Scholastic Week 4. So you're going to use this booklet, go to a page, I think you should be on about page 3, and you're going to be studying forest habitats. So a habitat is where something lives, right? So in this one, after you read the books, you're going to, on this paper, draw and label your own forest full of life. So it tells you things to draw. So it says draw trees. And then you're going to label it. So you're going to put trees, and you can put a little arrow. You're going to do 6 or more animals. Wow, that's a lot of animals. Okay, so you're going to draw animals. They can be 6 different animals, or they can be some of the same animals, but animals that you read about or you saw in the books that you had or the video. You need water. for your animals, a river, stream, or pond, and you need food for your animals. Now, obviously, it's not going to be somebody out with a bowl like you feed your dog. It's going to be something like another animal that they're going to eat or a plant that they're going to eat, something like that. And then shelter. Remember when we went on our trip to Palm Desert and there were burrows and they talked about caves? So a place for your animals to live, because those are all things that you need in a habitat. And you're going to be building your triorama habitat, and those are some of the things that you might show for your insect. But this one is going to be a forest habitat. So you're not really going to have to write a story or anything. You're drawing a picture, but you need to label it. So you can just write trees, arrow. You can put what the animals are and maybe put like a little arrow up to that. Okay, we're going to be doing another art project using the technique of Henri Matisse. Now, if you notice Henri, if you look at how that's spelled, Henri, in English that would be Henry with a Y at the end, but he's from France, so they say it a little different there. Now, remember Matisse, when you talk about an artist or maybe a musician, a lot of times you'll just call them by their last name. So Matisse is, especially when they're famous. Okay, so Matisse is an artist known now for his paper cutting, but he started out as a painter. And he started painting when he was sick. And then when he got older and he got sick again, he started doing the cut paper and putting them all over the walls. Actually, on the website, I did put some pictures of him in his workshop. He's cut these big shapes out, and then his assistants put them on the walls. And it's kind of a neat workshop. Anyway, this is the picture that we're going to be trying to be inspired by, Beasts of the Sea. So if you notice in this piece of art, he uses different shapes of paper. So he makes two towers here out of different colored paper, and then he glues different shapes on top, and they're things from the sea. Also, he uses black and white, and some of the colors look different if they're on black or on white. So what I'm going to do is I'm sending you, you already have it, a piece of paper for the background, and then I've given you scraps of paper, and you're going to be using those to cut out things. And you're painting with scissors here, so you're not supposed to draw them, you're supposed to cut them out. So I'm going to do a tutorial and show you how to do this, but I want you to notice a couple of things. I want you to notice how the colors look on black and white. So hold on just a second, I'm going to show you. So I'd like to show you something about colors. So these colors that I have here, blue, violet, green, turquoise, these are called cool colors. Okay? These colors here, red, yellow, and orange, are called warm colors. Now that's not the temperature of the color. Obviously if I touch this, that's not warm and this one's not cool. But that's what they call them, because they give you a certain mood depending on the colors. A lot of times people won't paint their room straight red, bright yellow, or orange, because those colors are associated with a certain mood, and a lot of times it's associated with like stress or anger, and so you don't want to paint your room that way because it kind of might make you feel like that. Maybe they'll use a little bit of that, but I don't think I've ever been in a room that was painted bright red on all the walls like this. Okay, most of the time when people paint a room, they'll paint them, a lot of times they'll use the cool colors. Maybe not this dark, maybe a lighter version of that, but these colors are more calming for people. Okay, now when you're drawing, you can either use cool colors or warm colors, or you can use a mix of them, but they look different depending on if they're on white or black. So let's look at these colors on white, and then look at these colors on black. They have kind of a different feeling. Oops, I'm dropping my papers. And then let's look at the warm colors on white and the warm colors on black. So I want you to think about that when you're building, to use white and black, and then think about what you like when you're putting the colors on white or black. You must use some white and black in your picture, but you're going to also use bright colors. Now I have a big pile of paper. You might not have this much paper. If you don't like the papers that I've given you, it's perfectly fine to use paper you already have at home. That's fine. And if you want a color that you don't have, you could take a white paper and paint it at home or color it at home and then cut it out, that's okay too. Eric Carle, who does like the Very Hungry Caterpillar, he does collage and he paints his own paper. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start you off with some paper. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you the basic way you're going to do it. But you don't need to feel like you need to copy exactly what Matisse is doing. We're going to do the basic format of having a background, then we're going to have 2 columns, and then have the sea creatures on top. But don't think, oh, he has a curly Q here, so I need to have a curly Q here. Don't do that, because that's just copying. But this picture is on the website if you forget what it looks like and you want to refer to that. All right. Okay, boys and girls, for our extra credit recess activity, I'd like you to get outside and play outside. And then tell me what you did. Maybe you're riding your bike or riding your scooter. Maybe you're doing an obstacle course. Maybe you're doing cartwheels and somersaults. Maybe you're playing on some kind of toy that you have in your backyard. But I'd like you to get outside in the sunshine because the weather has sure gotten warm. Maybe you're doing something with water even, like swimming or playing in the sprinklers if the weather is still nice by the time you're watching this video. And remember to send me pictures of what you're doing, and when you finish your art project, go ahead and send us all a picture so we can see it. Goodbye for now. I'll see you on Zoom.